All right. Okay, I hope everything's going okay. Today we'll take a look at importing and exporting, and we'll talk about web scraping, which is an important topic. So importing and exporting, this is just kind of like getting data into R, getting data out from R. Kind of your basic tool is read.csv, and there's kind of related things like read.table and readline and things like that. But I imagine you guys have already used read.csv at some point in your R career, so that's not a big deal. It used to be that you had to do strings as factors false, but actually I think that's the default setting now. You read in CSV files that way. Here are a few packages that you can load and use. My rule for homework is don't load up packages, use base R, but as I introduce packages in lecture, these are now like unlocked and you can use them, okay? I don't think you'll need to use many of these packages. Maybe reader. Reader is an important package. Later on we'll introduce the tidyverse, and the tidyverse includes reader as part of its packages. But if you use Excel files, you can use read Excel to read in Excel files. And if you've ever used another statistical software package like SAS, SAS, SPSS, or Stata, and I don't know if anybody's used any of these things. I don't know, maybe some of you have tried to apply to an internship and they're like, you need to know SAS or something like that. We don't really teach SAS here at UCLA, and I would say overall, these other packages have kind of become less popular. It seems like in academia, R has taken over everything, and in industry, Python has taken over much of everything. So those are kind of the two big tools for data science these days. But anyway, Haven allows you to import some of these other things. Like everything else, read the documentation, and that will show you how to use them. I see on CampusWire, and this is fine. I want you guys to continue using CampusWire, and don't hesitate to post your questions on CampusWire. But a lot of the questions on CampusWire, I feel like, oh, you know what? If you just looked up the help file, it might answer some of your questions, right? Which is fine, and totally, ask your peers and classmates, like, how do I do this? But a lot of your questions can be answered by understanding the help file, and it is an important skill to be able to find help and read the help file and be able to understand that. So that's something you got to develop as you do your homework. And then another package, library data.table, can be used to import large tables quickly. So with package reader, the main workhorse there is read_CSV. So this works very similar to read.csv, except you replace the dot with an underscore, and now it's package readers read_CSV file. And this is going to give you faster performance than read.csv. It also uses the tidyverse, so it exports things as tibbles, and there's some nice features there, and we'll talk about that in the future. And then if you had to import other similar types of files, like tab-separated files, fixed-width files, any kind of text-based file, package reader will do it. There's another package, data.table. Data.table has a function called fread, and that works a lot like read_CSV, and it is designed to work really fast. It has very fast performance. So if you have a very big data file, and here I wrote over 1 gigabyte, but even at over over 100 megabytes, fread will give you improved performance. And so, sometimes you get some kind of massive thing that has, millions of rows, hundreds of thousands of rows. You might want to consider using data.table and fread. Okay, and again, documentation on how to use data.table is right here. Read the documentation. That should be your first place to look on how to do anything. We can skip this page. This page just says, and I just basically copied this straight from the Reader website, and it just says, read_CSV versus fread. Fread is faster, whereas read_CSV, uses tidyverse features in it. Sometimes you work with Excel files, and I don't know how you guys feel about Excel. I actually I hesitate to say this, and it's almost like a little secret, but I like Excel. Okay. And it's very popular in business, but in the stats department and a lot of other places, like there's a little bit of disdain towards Excel, and I don't get it. I think the disdain comes from people misusing Excel, like when you should use like Word, right? So if you need to create just a table to present stuff, where you're not going to be doing any kind of calculations, just use a table in Word. But Excel is a good place to kind of do quick calculations, calculate the mean, filter out information. It's very fast. It's a very, very nice thing. So I actually like Excel. Even Google Sheets is pretty good. But anyway, if you have to work with Excel, you can import that data into R using read_Excel after loading library read Excel. And then Excel allows you to kind of store, have multiple worksheets. And so you can say read Excel and then sheet equals this name or sheet equals number 2. And again, look at the documentation on how to use read Excel. Now, one thing that will kind of mess things up, and this is probably where Excel gets a little bit of the hate, is that, in Excel, you can do stuff like you can format your cells, okay? And you can like have a content in a cell span multiple cells, right? You can like merge cells and do kinds of wonky stuff, which is not how like R's data frames work, right? In R, when you have a data frame, it's like each cell contains one value, each row is one observation, each column is one variable, and each cell contains one thing. So the idea of like merging cells together is, not allowed, and Excel allows you to do stuff like that. So, but anyway, this is how you read in Excel. Package downloader. I'm kind of going through all of these things really quickly, and the assumption is if you need to use it, you're going to reference this and you'll read the documentation. Okay, so I'm just kind of saying like, hey, this exists, and this is how you get that information. Package downloader. Sometimes there is a resource on the internet, and you might want to give your script to someone else and say, okay, and you want to get that resource, right? And so there's a few ways you could do it. One is you could send the script along with instructions or along with the data file, and you can say, okay, in order to run the script, you have to go to this website and download this file and store it in your computer, or here is the script and here's the data file. Or you can say, oh, the script, the data file is located online, and inside your script you can include instructions to say, okay, when the script runs, download this data file and then load it up. Okay, and so we can do that. Now there is a function called download.file, and this used to work really well in the early 2000s, early days of the internet, where everything was kind of insecure. I don't know if you guys know about the difference between HTTP:// and HTTPS://. And basically, anytime you go to a website, you'll see this little lock icon indicating that you have a secure connection to the server. And I don't even know if what websites allow you to have insecure connections, but in the early days of the internet, we could have insecure connections, and download.file works just fine. Now with secure HTTPS, so Hypertext Transfer Protocol secure, you can't do that. And so you can use library downloader. This allows connections to the secure thing, and you use the command download. So you give it the web address, you give it like the file location, and then once you've downloaded that file, you can then call something like read_CSV to load that file, right? And so that just saves a few steps, and now you can give a single script that has the instructions to download and load the data. What do you do if you want to export your data or save your data for later use? Well, one is you can use save. In RStudio, in our studio, as you're working, you can use the save button, and you can save whatever's in your environment. You can also include it in part of your script, and that's what this is for. My recommendations again are never save your workspace when you exit. Whenever you load up R, you always want to start off with an empty environment. You don't want to kind of load up your old workspace and stuff. And so if you do want to save your stuff, because sometimes you've worked hard, you worked for hours, and you finally got your data the way you like it, and you want to use this in the future. Well, you can just click save, or you can do write.csv, and it will export your thing as a CSV file. Write.csv's default settings, I think, exports row names. In R, row names are often just the integers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth, and which is not a very useful thing, in my opinion, to be storing in a data file. So I like to do row names equals false, but that's up to you. So this is how you go. So if you want to, and then if you want to just save like a simple atomic vector, you can use the function write, and it will export as an atomic vector. All right. So these are ways you can, for save, you just kind of list off the object names, and then you save it in a .r data file that you can then load up later. Okay, let me give you your first view quiz answer. Today's first view quiz answer is the letter D. D as in dog. D as in dog is our first view quiz answer. All right, here is, there's a package called lubridate, and lubridate allows us to work with dates. Okay, so here's a question. Is date, so today is January 25, 2023. January 25, 2023. Is date a categorical or numeric variable? Is date January 25, 2023, is it categorical or numeric? So you guys are saying categorical, some are saying numeric. Okay, how do you know if something's categorical versus numeric? You ask yourself, does it make sense to take two values and do a comparison? And can you say something is larger or smaller than the other, right? So area code, not numeric, right? It doesn't make sense to compare 818 and 310 and say 818 is higher than 310, okay? Height, numeric, because you can say this person is taller than this person. Okay, what about two dates? Does it make sense to say one is before or after the other? It does, okay? So in that case, date is a numeric thing, okay? And it's just we have this weird system of how we keep track of dates, okay? We've kind of selected this arbitrary, religious significance importance of saying like, okay, this is like years one or whatever, right? And then kind of the whole world has agreed to say, okay, every 365 or 366 days, we increment the year. Every 31 days or so, we increment this thing called month. And we happen to just come up with 12 different names for the months and stuff. And it's a little bit strange, but there you have it, okay? And it's actually a remarkable thing that we have the whole world on this same time system of keeping track of things, right? But actually, some countries still have the rest of the world says it's 2023, but we know it's year 18 of whatever this, right? Like they have like kind of their own system for keeping track of, their eras and their time and their moments in time. On the computer, the day one is January 1, 1970, okay? And inside the computer, it is just stored, date is stored as an integer of how many days have passed since January 1, 1970. So January 1, 1971 is 365 or 366, something like that, okay? February 1, 1970 would be like day 32 or something like that, okay? And then today is like, day X, 1,000 something. And then, days before 1970 are stored as negative numbers and things like that. And it's just, the date is stored as how many days have passed since January 1, 1970, and then inside your computer you have this thing that says, okay, it's this been this many days, and this many days have been leap years, and so we're going to reformat it into something that people understand, okay? But it's just a numeric thing, and that's why you can take two dates and say this person is 10 days older than the other person. This person is 15 years, 7 months, and 3 days older than the other person. And you can do a numeric comparison, and that's fine, okay? But anyway, because we have such a weird way of keeping track of days, and we don't just say, hey, it's, you know, what is day 0, right? It's difficult to work with days, all right? And it feels, you know, like we're working in categories and stuff. So I just, this slide serves no purpose other than to show you how much of a pain it was to work with dates without package lubridate, okay? So if you had this string that said January 15th, 1999, and you wanted to convert it as a day, you had to, as a date, you had to use this function as.date, and then you had to say percent capital B, percent lowercase d, comma, percent capital Y, and then it would understand and say, okay, 1999, 0115. But if you had anything formatted a little bit off, like you left the comma, or you used a capital D instead, or a lowercase y, or a lowercase b, or whatever, it would break, okay? And if you wanted to do something, it would break. These are all kinds of situations where we just cause it to break. These slides serve no purpose other than to say it was a pain, okay? Now, with lubridate, you can have something like January 15, 1999, 12/15/2001, and all you have to do is say, hey, the information is stored as month, day, year, and then it says, I gotcha, and it converts it into dates that the computer understands, okay? And so that has made our life so much easier, and the only thing you really have to specify is the information stored as year, month, day, month, day, year, which you know, in Europe they do day, month, year. In America we do month, day, year. And personally, I like to store information on my computer as year, month, day, so that you can kind of alphabetize things and they're still in kind of order, numeric order, right? So that's all you have to do with lubridate. And anyway, read the documentation for lubridate, and this cheat sheet on lubridate gives you a good overview of how to use it. Okay, so anytime you're dealing with dates, don't use R's base date functionality. I mean, it works, but it's a huge pain. Use lubridate. Look at the cheat sheet, and there's all kinds of stuff that you can do with dates, right? There's all kinds of weird, wonky stuff with times, right? Like there's like time zones, which is like, you know, what is that, right? And you know, daylight savings, and that's like, oh gosh, I don't know. Okay, well anyway, dealing with dates, it's a huge pain. Lubridate makes it easier. Okay, let me talk about web scraping, and we are going to use RVest for web scraping. Before I get into that, let me give you your second view quiz answer, which is the letter A as in apple. Second view quiz answer is A as in apple. Okay, so web scraping is a very useful tool in order to collect data from the internet, okay? And web scraping is the idea that you have this automated system that goes to a web page, pulls information, downloads information, or scrapes information from the web page, puts it into a table that allows you kind of get it, right? And so you can go to like, you know, some web page that has stats. So, you know, you go to ESPN and they keep track of information. You go to, you know, some page and it's got stuff, and you can kind of scrape information that way, right? So web scraping is great. The problem is that a lot of people are web scraping, and a lot of people are using bots to do all kinds of stuff, and people who maintain servers are in this kind of this arms race between the people who run the bots and the people who run the servers, because the people who run the servers hate bots, right? And so, you know, every time you want to do some kind of transaction that could be subject to bots, like you want to buy tickets on Ticketmaster or something, you have to like jump through all of these hoops that are like, okay, select the pictures that have traffic lights, and, you know, select the orientation of the dog, and, you know, all of these things, because it's like trying to combat these bots, okay? And every year it's like the bots get more sophisticated, and every year the servers like get more sophisticated to like disallow bots and things like that. And so we're going to look at an example, and like my code that worked last year doesn't work this year. And so I had to like make my stuff a little bit more sophisticated and things like that. I'm not doing anything like illegal or anything like that. It's just the servers are now kind of like, they don't even want you to just even scrape information. It's not like I'm even trying to do a transaction. It's just like, they don't even want you to scrape information. So this Rvest, this is like a very rudimentary web scraping tool. It's going to work great for like low priority targets of these things. So like you want to go to Wikipedia and download some tables, great. Okay, you want to go to a couple like reference websites and download some tables there, it'll work fine. Okay, but something a little bit more sophisticated, it might not like. Okay, and Rvest in the first place only works well for like these static web pages. A lot of kind of certain websites and some of your apps, they're all designed with something called infinite scroll. And the way it works is as you look at the stuff on your web page, it loads up a certain amount of content. And as you scroll down and you get near the bottom of that content, your web browser talks to the server and says, oh, the person's almost at the end of the web page, start loading more, okay, so that they keep scrolling, right? Because studies have shown that once you reach the bottom of the thing and you have to click next, that's when somebody might exit your page, right? And we don't want that. We want to keep them hooked on the web page because it's really easy to keep scrolling and keep feeding those ads, and we get like 1/10 of a thousandth of a cent or whatever. And as long as we're pumping ads and keeping people engaged on our site, we can be making money. And so, you know, sorry, your brain, this is how the web internet works. And now you can scroll on a thing like for, 15 minutes straight, just scrolling, and your brain isn't doing anything, okay? But anyway, Rvest isn't going to work well for something like that. And then any kind of site where you have to be logged in to view content, like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter even, where you have to be logged in to actually see the meat of the content, Rvest isn't going to work. So for more sophisticated sites, there are more sophisticated web scraping tools, but those have steeper learning curves. So we're just going to start with the basics here, okay? The way it works is it uses CSS tags. So I don't know if any of you have created a web page, and if not, don't worry, okay? But if you go to a web page, you can view the source of a web page, okay? And if you view the page source, oh gosh, there's all kind of, it looks like a whole, it's just a whole bunch of text here, okay? But each of these things, there's like, you'll see these links. There's like, this thing is really hard to read. There's like div tags, and internally, the way a website is structured is you have these different tags that say, hey, this is a list item, this is a paragraph, this is a headline. And beyond that, you have these class attributes that say, okay, this paragraph or this line item, list item, is corresponds to the comments button, corresponds to the share button, something like that. And you can use the CSS tags to identify every piece of item, content item on the page that is listed as a comment. Okay, so here we'll visit the web page, old Reddit, okay, because new Reddit is now infinite scroll. It's not going to work well, but old Reddit looks like this, okay? And so this is the current, just what the web page looks like. And so here it says 1,795 comments, okay? And here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, what hobby is an immediate red flag? Bad at swearing. And we've got little different comments here, okay? And what I'm going to do is we're going to go and we want to just kind of highlight, extract out, how many comments are associated with each of these things, okay? And so we're going to use this tag .comments, okay? And so I'm going to call in library Rvest, okay? And I'm going to use the function read HTML and I give it the website, https://old.reddit.com, okay? And so this will be, I'm just going to call this old Reddit, okay? So it reads in old Reddit, okay? And old Reddit internally is stored as this HTML document. And from here, I could say we want to do HTML nodes. We want to extract out the nodes that say dot comments, okay? Okay, and if I do that, it pulls out the tags that are dot comments. And from there, I'm going to pull out the HTML_text, okay? And so here, at the time of loading this thing, it says 1817 comments, 1743 comments, 434 comments. And so, you know, the web page might have refreshed. Okay, so I think it corresponds to this. Let me just, okay, so the numbers are just a little bit off, okay? But here, you know, I got 1817 and now it's 1828. Here's 17452 and here it says 17437. 434 comments, it's now up to 439 comments. So you can see it's kind of pulling up what's on the website right now, okay? And so you can use these things, the nodes, with whatever tag exists to pull out the associated piece of content. Now, how do we know what tag to use, okay? For that, we use this tool called Selector Gadget, all right? And so, so look up Arvest Selector Gadget. And on Arvest Selector Gadget, it says to install it, open a page in your web browser and drag this following link to your bookmarks bar. So if you're using Chrome, you can hit Command-Shift-B to show your bookmarks bar, okay? And you will just click and drag Selector Gadget up to your bookmarks bar. I already have it up here, okay? It's this little JavaScript bookmarklet. And you can just drag it to your bookmarks bar. I think you can just do, how do you show your bookmarks bar on, here I'm using Edge, I don't know. Well, it's just Command-Shift-B on, on my computer here, or Control-Shift-B that shows and hides the bookmarks bar for me. I don't know if it's different for you, but you can just click and drag the Selector Gadget link to the bookmarks bar. And then the way it works is, okay, so here's your web page. You click the Selector Gadget, and it loads up this thing. And now when you hover over the page, a bunch of stuff highlights in red, okay? And so let's say we want to extract out headlines here, okay? I'm going to just click one of these things I want, and that thing turns green, and a whole bunch of other stuff turns yellow. And this means if I were to use this, this tag, may blank, it's going to pull out everything that's green and yellow. Okay, and I don't want all of this stuff. I just want the headlines. So I'm going to click something like I don't want to know that. Okay, and so here this says, okay, we're going to pull out the tag .title, and I kind of look at this and I go, oh, okay, you know, that seems reasonable. Or actually, I don't want this thing. Okay, but now nothing is getting highlighted. So I do want, like, okay, so we've got site table .title. That seems reasonable. Okay, these are all the things that it's going to extract. So I'm going to select this tag. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to use that to extract out my nodes. Okay, so here I've got we've got the, remember I used read HTML to load up old Reddit, and from there I'm going to do old Reddit, and then I use the pipe operator. Okay, and the pipe operator says take this thing, put it into the next function. You can use the pipe operator, which is here is % greater than % or Command-Shift-M, and I'm going to do HTML_nodes parentheses, and then I put in that tag that I got from Arvest, or the Selector Gadget. Okay, I'm going to put that in, and this has extracted out the titles, and after that I want to pull out just the text associated with that. So I'm going to do, again, old Reddit HTML nodes. I'm going to pipe it to HTML_text, and now it has pulled out the text of those titles. Okay, And so here we see the information from the site. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene, blah, blah, blah. What hobby is an immediate red flag? Bad at swearing, Russia fumes NATO. And again, we can see, oh yeah, these are the things that, these are the headline tags, the title tags that appear on the website right now, okay? So that seems to be working as we want, okay? And so that's kind of how you would use something like RVest and Selector Gadget to, go to a website, identify the bits of information you want to extract, and then you pull that out, okay? And so these are things that you can do, okay? Yeah, more web scraping options. There's other tools. So there's a more sophisticated tool is rSelenium, and then and if you want to use Python, you can. It unlocks some additional things. I'm going to now do a more detailed demonstration of RVest. Okay, and I posted this this example, and again. Here I had the automated browser, and this is code that I had last year, and it worked fine last year, but it doesn't work this year because they've, I guess, upgraded the servers, and so now my old thing doesn't work, okay? I got it to work by using a package called Polite, okay? And Polite is, it allows you to have a bot, and the bot is going to be on good behavior. The reason why servers don't like bots, one of the reasons, is that a bot can open up like 100 links within a second, okay? And that bogs down the server, right? Because the server has to respond to every single one of these requests, right? And so it says, oh, you've got a bot and you're making 100 requests a second. We're going to just categorically reject all of them. I only want to talk to humans, okay? So Polite says, okay, be a good bot. When you make a request, only do one request every few seconds, like what a human might do, okay? And so the bot kind of has these behaviors built in. So it doesn't upset the servers, okay? But anyway, so I use library Polite, and again, you can look at the documentation for package Polite. You might have to install some of these things. I'm going to load up a library RVest, stringer, and data.table to kind of use some of these things. Okay, and for this example, we're going to go to IMDb, and we're going to look at the Lego Movie page. Okay, and so on the Lego Movie page, let's say I wanted to extract out the IMDb rating for the Lego Movie, which is currently 7.7. So I'm going to click Selector Gadget, okay, and I'm going to hover over this number 7.7 because this is the piece of information I want to extract, okay? So I'm going to click that, and it gives me this tag. It's unintelligible, but it says EUYAAQ, all right? That's the tag that I'm using to identify this. And then here it says there's only 2 things on the entire website with that tag, okay? And for me, that's good enough, okay? So if it said like there's 100 things on the web page with this tag, I wouldn't want it. So I'm going to go ahead and just select this tag, and I'm going to copy it, okay? And I'm going to use that to scrape out the information. So here I'm just using read HTML, which is an RVest thing, and this actually worked fine. And we're going to read the HTML of the Lego Movie website, and we're going to store it into the Lego Movie object here. And then here I'm going to take Lego Movie, and I'm going to pull out the nodes with that one tag, EUYAAQ, okay? And if I do that, it has pulled out the nodes in the HTML page with that thing, and we're going to pull out the HTML text. And if I do that, then it extracts that number 7.7, and if it's text, it's always going to be character, so if we want to make it numeric, I'm going to pipe that result into numeric, okay? So all of these things just say, hey, take the result and then do this next function to it, okay? So that's what the pipe does. It just takes the result and it applies another function to it, and then it applies another function to it, okay? And then so now we're going to say, okay, take the Lego Movie, pull out the nodes, pull out the text, make it numeric, and then the entire thing store back into this object rating for, kind of the vector. All right, and so now rating is this numeric vector containing 7.7. For whatever reason, it appears twice, but that's fine. Okay, we got out the piece of information that we want. Okay, so that's what we have there. Okay, there's more stuff that we want on this page. Okay, let's say we want to get the cast of the movie. Okay. So we've got, Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett. So I'm going to use selector gadget. Okay, I click selector gadget, this loads up, and now I hover over. So what are the pieces of information I want? I'm going to pull out, I'm going to highlight, I want the cast name. Okay, and here it says I've highlighted 18 things, and the thing I selected is green. The other things that it's going to extract are yellow, and I look around, and that looks pretty good. It doesn't look like many other things got highlighted as yellow. It says there's 18 things that it's going to extract associated with this tag. So that's fine with me. I'm going to copy this tag, and I'm going to use that, and I'm going to say, okay, whoops. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say from Lego Movie, extract the nodes with this tag, and let's pull out the text. And I'm going to save this as cast. And so if I do that, indeed, it has pulled out the cast names: Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett, so on and so forth. Craig Berry, Allison Brie. Okay, so that looks good. Let's say you want something else. So here is just a little bit of a demo of like how selector gadget works. So let's say you wanted to extract out a movie review. So I'm going to go to selector gadget. I'm going to say I want to pull out this movie review. Now, when I select this movie review, it says there are 9 things selected. It says clear and then 9. So there's going to be 9 things that it's going to extract. And I go, what else is it highlighting? Okay, it's also highlighting this other stuff. So, I'm going to say, oh, I don't want this other stuff. I don't want the trivia. Okay, so I look at this, and here it says now there's 2 things that are going to be extracted. Okay, so what else? Oh, it's also going to pull out the storyline. So I'm going to just click that. So this says I don't want that. It's in red. I don't want that. It's in red. And so now there's only one thing that's green. And now it has this really long tag, IPC overflow text list card.ipc overflow text long or whatever. Okay, and that's going to be the tag that I'm going to use. And if I put that in here, okay, now when I call HTML nodes on that, HTML text, okay, now it pulls out the entire review, right? So, and I guess when I loaded up the page, it's a slightly different review. So I guess it's like randomly generated which review. So this one is a different review, but anyway, this is the review that got extracted here. Okay. We can also go to one of the actor web pages. Okay, so I'm going to go to Chris Pratt's page, and let's say I want to extract out projects that he's working on or he's been in. So we're going to click selector gadget. I'm going to highlight over the name of the projects he's been in. Okay, and here it says there's 26 things being selected. And I look around, and that looks fine. Nothing else is highlighted in yellow that I don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy that. Okay. And in order to get this to work, I'm going to read the HTML of Chris Pratt's URL, which is right here in the web address. Okay. And I'm going to pull out the HTML nodes, pull out the HTML text, and so from here I can call Chris project, and we can see. So this actually pulls up upcoming projects too. So it says, okay, Super Mario Brothers movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, Garfield, Cowboy Ninja Viking, stuff like that. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and it's got all of these kind of different projects that this actor has been in. Yes?
Yeah, on the page, it said it was for 64 projects, but it only pulled out 26.
Yeah, so it says 64, so probably that's because I would have to click this button, see all, to kind of load up more stuff. So now that I've clicked that and I click selector gadget, maybe it will load up more. Okay, so it's now loading up more things, and I don't know if there's other stuff being selected here, but now it says it's going to select 75 things. But But again, this is, Arvest isn't going to work well with this because in order to load that extra thing, I had to do an extra click, right? So Arvest is basically like, it's going to go to the thing and whatever the server gives at that moment, that's what Arvest is able to read. And so it can't do this kind of stuff where you interact with the page and it loads more content and you're going to extract that out, right? You need something like Selenium browser to do something like that. So Arvest really only like whatever the server feeds in that moment that doesn't require like extra clicks and stuff, Arvest will be able to handle. If you need something a little bit more interactive, you're going to kind of up the stakes a little bit. Okay, so here I've got this automated session, and again, this has broken. Okay, this no longer works. I think if I try to do this right now, if I try to just open a session, I get this warning message, forbidden, okay? It says, basically the server is not gonna let me open a session. But sometimes I kept the code here because it could still work on different servers if you modify the thing. But there is so if you are able to get session to work, you can use this function called session follow link. And basically, you say follow the link that's titled Chris Pratt. So starting at the, if we start at the Lego Movie webpage, right? This is a link. Oh, geez. Okay. This is a link that says Chris Pratt. And so basically, if you were to find Chris Pratt, all right? So there's a link for Chris Pratt, and we're gonna kind of follow that that link here. And when I click that link, it's going to take me to his webpage. So, and you can say follow the link, and then after you follow the link, read the HTML from that page, and then from there, we can say extract out his projects that he's been in. And so I created this loop that says, okay, we have cast names, right? So cast names, I've got all the cast members of the Lego Movie page, and we can say cast, let's just take the first 4 cast members, Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, and Will Arnett. And then, we gave it the instructions starting on the Lego Movie page, which is given by this session S, follow the link that says Chris Pratt, okay? And then read in that HTML from that, and then store that as the actor page. And then from the actor page, pull out their projects and pull out the text. From the actor page, also pull out the years associated with those projects, stuff like that. And then after it finishes one iteration of the loop, follow the link for the next actor name, which in this case would be Will Ferrell. Go to Will Ferrell's page, so on and so forth. And we would kind of do this little bot scraping starting at the Lego Movie page, go to Chris Pratt's page, pull out information from his page. Then go to Will Ferrell's page, pull out information from Will Ferrell's page. Then go to Elizabeth Banks' page, pull out information from her page, and so on and so forth. Okay. Again, this code is now not going to work. So I've updated my code to use a polite session, okay? And so to start a polite session, you use this command bow, all right? And this basically tells your bot to be polite to the server and say, hey, I'm a bot, but I promise to have good behavior and things like this, okay? And so this will allow me to create a session. So I'm going to do S, which is going to be my session, and I'm going to start by bowing to the server, which is, and I'm going to request the IMDb page for the Lego Movie. Okay, and so this is allowed. So I've bowed, and so this thing worked. I didn't get that forbidden message. Okay, and so the way we read HTML here is when we have a polite session, we use the function scrape. And what are we going to scrape? We're going to scrape the HTML content. Okay, we're going to say scrape the text, the HTML content, UTF-8, Unicode stuff. And then using the same kind of tag that we had earlier, we can get out, say, the cast names, okay? So I'm going to say from the HTML stuff, get the nodes, and then pull out the text. And so now we have cast, okay? And then the way the bow works here, or the polite sessions, we can't just say follow these links. We have to say, okay, we're going to change the URL. And so with each of these things, when you hover over, say, the actor's name, down here it shows in the corner of the page, right there, right? It shows down here, like, what is the new URL that it's going to load, okay? So we want that, and so that is done by, it's the same tags, because it's the same thing that you're hovering over, but we're not getting the text. That text that you hover over also has associated attributes, one of them being what URL are you going to go to, okay? And that URL is found in this HTML tag called the href, the, I guess, hypertext reference, okay? And so here we're going to extract out this thing. So I'm going to take that information out and store it as actor URLs, okay? And so actor URLs is going to be this vector of basically web addresses, okay, that it's going to load to. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use R's ability to name a vector with these things. So I'm going to take these actor URLs and I'm going to give them names. So I'm going to say name the actor URLs with basically the cast vector, okay? And if I do that, now my actor URLs all have cast member names. So I could say, okay, from actor URLs, give me the URL for Chris Pratt. Or I can say actor URLs, square bracket, and we're using subsetting, and I can say I want the one for Elizabeth Banks, right? And it gives me her web URL, which is NM0006969, okay? Chris Pratt, NM0695435, okay? So we got these different URLs for these different people, and that's what we have. Okay, so now that I have the URL, I can have the session, my polite session, go to the new URL. And so we're going to talk to the server and say, please server, allow me to go to a new page and don't reject me, right? And so we say, we go to this session, which is my polite session. We're going to nod, which is our polite request. And we're going to say, give the new path that I want is this new URL, okay? Actor URL for Chris Pratt. And from there, we're going to scrape the content, okay? And so by being polite, the server will allow us through. And so this will now be, this is the HTML content for Chris Pratt's page. And then from there, if I want to extract out the list of projects, I use that same kind of tag that I used from Selector Gadget earlier, and I can do Chris's page, HTML nodes, HTML text, and I'm able to scrape out the list of projects he's been in, and so on and so forth. Okay, and so now I'm going to kind of do an automated thing where I'm going to visit 4 pages, okay? And so I'm going to just kind of, let's, here on my cast, we're going to just go to the first 4 actors, okay? Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett. And so we're going to say, okay, first we're going to start off in our session, which is currently at the Lego movie page, okay? Then we're going to request the server to go to a new page, and we're going to go to the actor URL for that actor name. And actor name is from a for loop, right? The for loop is, we're going to take the first 4 things. So the first iteration is going to be Chris Pratt. Second iteration is going to be Will Ferrell. Third iteration is going to be Elizabeth Banks, and so on and so forth. We're going to say, okay, follow the URL associated with that name, and then download that page. From that page, extract out the nodes for the projects they're in, okay? And then I also have another tag which is associated with, on their page. I said, extract out the projects that they're in, and then also the year of that project, right? The year of the project 2022, and so on and so forth. We're going to extract those things out, and then we're going to kind of just save this into this list called cast movies. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and again, it's being polite, so it's going to take a couple moments to run. Actually, it ran really quickly. Did something break? Or I think I ran this last class, so maybe it was cached. Okay, but but it might take a moment. All right, so anyway, when I take a look at the content, it indeed has gone to these different actor pages, okay? And it went to Chris Pratt, and it pulled out his movies and the years of those movies, okay? Then went to Will Ferrell's page, pulled out, his projects and the years of those projects, and went to Elizabeth Banks' page, pulled out, her projects and the years of those projects, and so on and so forth, okay? And then to kind of combine it all, I've got a loop to go over the list to kind of combine everything. I'm going to execute that in a moment, but let me give you your last view quiz answer, which is the letter B. B as in bear. B as in bear is your last view quiz answer. Okay, and so here's that list, and so I'm going to just create a kind of a new list with everything, and I'm going to just iterate through the entries of this list, kind of expanding on it, and so now I have a thing, and I can arrange them into a data frame, and now I have 10 projects from Chris Pratt, 10 projects from Will Ferrell, 10 projects from Elizabeth Banks, and 10 projects from Will Arnett, all kind of arranged in this data frame, which is great. Again, there is kind of this struggle between bots and web scraping tools, along with servers trying to protect themselves from getting hit with too many requests. So sometimes you can just use the session. Sometimes you have to make it a little bit more complicated with polite, and sometimes it's just not going to work. Okay, so web scraping is a challenge, but it is, I think, something worth trying, and you'll get to do it in your next homework assignment. So we'll go ahead and end here for today, and we will see you on Friday.